Yes, the people that I've shown you are called Melungeons. There's been question of whether or not Elvis was a Melungeon because he had the dark hair and the blue eyes. They said Elvis was born far from the hills of southwestern Virginia in Tupelo, Mississippi, but researcher Brent Kennedy, a college administrator in Wise, theorized that the king, as well as Abraham Lincoln and Ava Gardner, might trace their ancestors to the mysterious Melungeons. These dark-skinned, blue-eyed people were first documented in Virginia's Blue Ridge in the late 1700s. Over the years, various myths about their origin arose. Some believe they were either survivors from the lost colony of Roanoke, and if you know anything about that story, these people disappeared without a trace, or Portuguese shipwrecks. Others suggest they were descendants from one of the long-lost tribes of Israel, or early Carthaginian, or Phoenician seamen. So there's been a lot of controversy about this mysterious race of people that's been living here on the continent. They call them a Melungeons because it's a tri-race mix of people, a mixed race group that can trace its lineage to Spanish and Portuguese explorers in the 16th century, or perhaps Turkish sailors and slaves. So they've done a lot of research and speculation. Now, this fellow named Kennedy, who's also a native, he came down with a rare disease that's common amongst African Americans, and I have that same disease. It's called sarcoidosis. People of Mediterranean descent, and New England's Portuguese immigrants. He had been told his heritage was Scottish-Irish, despite physical evidence, swarthy family complexions, and all this other stuff. So this whole thing was surrounded in mystery. And you can read this by just Googling Melungeons. Was Elvis a Melungeon? Okay, let's go on. All right, now, there's also been speculation that our own President Abraham Lincoln's mother was a Melungeon because she was very dark-skinned and she also worked in a saloon. Not many people know that about Elvis. But the speculation is Elvis Presley, Abraham Lincoln, Loretta Lynn, George C. Scott. Oh, even Tom Hanks and Heather Locklear. I did not know that about them. Steve Martin are all alleged by some sources to have Melungeon ancestry. The Melungeons are an ethnic group commonly described as tri-racial isolates, resident in the Cumberland Gap neighborhood of eastern Tennessee, southwest Virginia, and eastern Kentucky. The Melungeons' comparatively dark complexions and other exotic characteristics have been attributed to mixed Amerindian, Spanish, or Portuguese descent. Other alleged origins include, of course, the shipwrecked Turkish and descent from gypsies. But they've done DNA studies, and DNA shows that they're actually the offspring of sub-Saharan African men and white women of northern or central European origin. Sub-Saharan is below the desert. So it's pure African where they were taking slaves and stuff like that. We did not know that in the beginning of this country that they were mixing African males and white women from Europe in the ancient history of this country. In fact, it's been speculated that Thomas Jefferson's mother might have been of mulatto descent because her sister, the father had sex with one of the slaves and made the sister, the daughter, take care of his regular daughter. So that's kind of a sister. Anyway, so it is believed that, a lot of the people here in the States actually do have African American blood because Caucasian women were not coming to this country in the beginning of the history of this country. They would not come over here and live in the dirt and squalor. So the males were marrying the biracial offsprings, and sometimes the offspring of those. Okay, so they had the offspring be like a quarter black, and not many people know that they are carrying actually African DNA, more recent African DNA, even though they can look very fair-skinned. So that's the history and the study on the so-called Melungeon group. I brought this up because of the recent movie Lincoln, and Lincoln was called the Negro president back when he ran for office. And I was just watching the first part of the video on that movie, and the black fella says, "You have springy hair for a white guy," or something like that. Yeah, for a white man, you have springy hair. And I think they're hinting at the possibility that Abraham Lincoln also had multiracial ancestry. If you look at his photographs, he always came out really dark. His mother was, as I said, was very, very dark-skinned also. And as I said, she also worked in a saloon. Okay, so, and she was from that part of the country where the Melungeons were from. So we can only speculate, but if we could only get DNA from maybe family of hers and maybe trace that down somehow, we might be able to find out some truth.